Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, December the 16th. And although we're heading into the slower trading periods of the year, this week it's a pretty busy week in terms of events, both economic events and earnings events. So we'll get into that in just a second. But if we take a look in the markets futures section on the Bloomberg app, you can see that everything in the US indices are green on the screen. The NASDAQ is up the most at almost 0.6%. So that's a pretty good, pretty big positive move upward. I think a lot of that being propelled by what happened with Broadcom last week. Also, talk with Tesla continuing to move upward with the robo-taxi talk. Um, I was just talking to a family member this weekend about his experience in a Waymo taxi in Phoenix, and he was just amazed by how incredible that experience was and how cost effective it was in comparison to, say, an Uber ride with no driver in the car, so fully autonomous, and he really enjoyed the experience. So as we see more and more of that gain traction in the U.S., I think we're probably going to continue to see an uptick in Tesla based on what the future could hold if it captures even just a small percentage of market share in that autonomous vehicle marketplace. And obviously, it has many iterations now of its full self-driving out there and talk of a full self-driving cab. So we'll see what comes as we move into 2025 there on the Tesla front. But everything looks to be in the green in the indices. Let's flip over to the Yahoo Finance app for a second. If we start our session here at the top, you can see that crude is off 50 cents. It's been lower this morning. It's starting to come back. It has not been positive all morning. It's been in the red all morning, but you can see that it is climbing its way back. And if we see this get back up into the 71 range, I think we could have a positive day for a lot of our oil companies. We're seeing mostly red on the screen, or we were earlier this morning, but may start to turn depending on what crude does there. If we scroll over further, you can see Bitcoin is going crazy. It's above 100,000 US. It hit 106,000 US. We've got the VIX, which has climbed as well. So that's one to keep an eye on. It's only up 0.34, less than one, but or 1%. But we do want to see it under the 15 or 16 level. We don't want to see that climb too much as we head into 2025. If we look down through the list of stocks that we follow, you can see that Costco is getting a bit of a bid. They had good earnings yesterday. They're up slightly in the pre-market. I do feel that they're slightly overpriced right now, although the US consumer and spending is very positive, and we're going to get some more economic numbers out this week, as well as a Fed rate decision on Wednesday. So that will be a very important day, and some key earnings on Wednesday. And I'll get into those in just a second. Lulu was up on Friday. It's up slightly today. Again, I think we're kind of near a peak here until we get actual results from Lulu again to justify that amazing increase in the stock in the last month or so. Walmart's doing well, should continue to do well based on where we are in the economic cycle and where its position and how it deals with the market that it serves. But again, it's on the higher side right now. So there is the potential for a bit of a pullback. So I would be extremely cautious, and I'm becoming more and more cautious as we look into 2025. I mean, if we think back to the first Trump administration, the volatility that President Trump created with his 3 a.m. tweets or his random tweets throughout the business day and the trading day, it really had the ability to throw a wrench into the machine of the stock market and created a bit of chaos. Now, volatility and chaos can be okay if you're expecting them. But if you're a long-term, long hold kind of investor, it can wreak havoc on your portfolio. So you do want to be aware of the trading dynamics that are about to start to change with this increased volatility and call it uncertainty. I think that's going to move the VIX up fairly quickly as well as we see Donald Trump get into office. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Scrolling down into transports, CNR down at 147.89. I think this is a steal for this stock. If you take a look at the dividend yield on this, it's paying 2.3%. Its price to earnings is under 18, and it's well positioned. It's definitely near its 52-week low. If you look at the year to date, it is as low as it's been all year. And if you look at the 5 year, it's been as high as 180. So I think there's a lot of potential for this to get some traction going in to 2025. And I think you're getting this at a deep discount right now. So if you're looking for a buy and hold and some potential security there, I mean, I wouldn't put your whole portfolio into any one stock, but I would take a position in CNR when it's down in that mid 140 range. And now we get into oil, and another one, not an oil stock, but utility that I think is very attractively priced for a nice gain and some security going into 2025 is Con Ed. Con Ed is a stock that has served me very well over the years. If you look at the dividend here, you're at almost 3.6%. It is down towards its low. I mean, its low was, call it 86. Its high was, call it 108. So it's not at its low by any means, but it has fallen from 106 fairly recently. So you can see here back in November on the 22nd, 23rd, that kind of week, it was up in the 103 range. It's now down $10. So that's more than 10% from where it was back at that time frame. And I think it has the ability to turn, although it's not one of those sexy stocks that you want to get into. It's kind of one of those quiet stocks that if you buy at the right time, hold, and then sell when you get a 10% uplift and the dividend, you're usually in pretty good shape with that. And it's a nice quiet winner. You can see most of the other oil stocks right now are in the red. Some of them have climbed back and are in the red much less than they were earlier this morning. But I do anticipate that this has the possibility of changing if we can see crude continue to climb back up. So it's slowly making its way up from 6 a.m. this morning when it hit its bottom thus far for the morning session. If it does get back up again into the 71 range, I think there's a high likelihood that we could see some of these oil stocks turn, and there could be some potential for a profit there. I'm still a huge fan of Valero. It's down in the 128s right now. This is a stock that I believe in 2025 will definitely get back into the 160, 165 range. So again, it's a buy and hold in that position. It's a 11, call it 11 and a half price to earnings ratio, pays a 3.3% dividend, and it generates a ton of cash flow. So let's see what we got going on in technology. So technology, semis are getting a lift today. Micron announces on Wednesday. I'm a big believer that Micron is going to have some phenomenal earnings. It kind of looks like the market is supporting that view based on the fact that it was up 4% on Friday and is up another 3.14% this morning in the pre-market. So it's over 105. 105's been a bit of a glass ceiling for that. So um, an upward threshold, if it moves as it has now, continues to move through that 105 number, I think it has the potential to get up to 110, if not even 115 after earnings Wednesday, if those come out and exceed expectations. I mean, we saw what Broadcom did last week when it had good earnings. They weren't phenomenal, but they beat expectations, and that stock just soared. So we'll have to wait and see till after market Wednesday what Micron does. But I'm a believer that you're going to make a 10% gain if you get in on that today or tomorrow before earnings come out on Wednesday. Or I guess on Wednesday, you can get in on that prior to market close. Now we take a look at, we scroll down. It's a lot of green on the screen in the pre-market as we move through the rest of the stocks that we follow. Microsoft really, I don't think it has very far to go at this point until its next earnings at 447. In fact, I think it's going to pull back into the 420s. I think there's a potential as we head into the holiday season and even into the first of the year that prior to Q1 earnings coming out in starting starting in mid to late January 2025, I think we could see a bit of a pullback. I think we could have a gangbuster start to the year, and then I think we could see a pullback, and then again, we could see an uplift with earnings. So this is part of the trading methodology that we talk about here on the channel, and that is look for an opportunity when the stock is near a low in its recent trading range, buy and then sell when it gets near a high in that trading range and take your profits, and then wait again for a buying opportunity or look for another stock for a buying opportunity there. Lam Research has been a bit of a dog this year, had a great start and then it fell off. I believe this one's going to come back as we get into 2025. And I think 76 is a pretty good entry point for that. Workday had some bad earnings this quarter and it fell significantly, but it kind of bottomed at the 270 range, 269, 270. And I think it's going to start to make a move backwards, back upwards, I should say. Mongo got hit recently in the last week or so with earnings and it shot down significantly. But I think we probably found a bottom there in the mid 260s. So that has the potential. But then you could just avoid the ones that had bad earnings and get in on some of the ones that are just rocket ships right now. And one of those is Broadcom. So if you look at AVGO here, this stock in the last 5 days has rocketed up from the 180 range now up into the 225 range. So this was right after earnings. Earnings took a while to come out that afternoon, but when they did come out around 4:15, 4:20 in the afternoon, it just really it was hovering and then it just shot up as those earnings got digested and the numbers were analyzed by the different folks that take a look at that. Then we've got Tesla. Tesla was up 18 on Friday. It's up again this morning. Again, a lot of this based on the hope for robotaxi. Meta is a stock that we've been talking about a lot on the channel this year. Love Meta. Think it's a little highly priced or overvalued here in the 630 range, but it came back to 620 on Friday, and it looks like it's going to get back up to 630. So it's trading in that range as well. So this is another great example. If you see Meta pull back on a day like you did on Friday, buy in towards the end of the day and then wait for it to get back up to the level that it came down from, which it typically does. And especially when the overall market, the NASDAQ as a whole is up, it tends to lift stocks like that, or stocks like that tend to lift the NASDAQ. So they kind of work in tandem there. We've got a bit of a sell-off in Alibaba. The Chinese sector is still slow to recover. NVIDIA was off Friday. A lot of news now about other companies like Google coming out saying that they should have their own AI chip in 2025. You've got similar things coming out from companies like Apple and Amazon and Microsoft, all working towards trying to find an alternative to these very amazing but highly priced NVIDIA chips. So we'll see what happens there in that space. Now, that said, NVIDIA is still going to market its chips to the rest of the economy and customers outside of the technology sector that may be trying to make their own chips, which is a very small number of companies. So they still have a ton of market share and a ton of opportunity. But as we hear more about the likes of, say, a Google announcing an AI chip, then maybe you want to buy some NVIDIA on a pullback. 134, probably a pretty decent price. Earnings should be great going into 2025, and you're getting it at a bit of a discount there. I just don't think you're going to have the same hockey stick growth in 2025 that we saw in the last couple of years. And then we've got Google. This was a stock we recommended a couple weeks ago in the high 160s. It hit 190, got up to 195, which we said it would get to. It's fallen back in the last couple of days, off $2.25 Friday, but it looks like it's easily making that up this morning in the pre-market, and we'll see how that opens in just 16 minutes. Adobe got pounded last week with bad earnings. This is one I would stay away from right now. Wait for it to find a bit of a bottom and start to recover, and then catch it on the upswing if there is an upswing. The one I'd get into is TSM. TSM, again, being lifted by Broadcom results. It should get lifted again by Micron results being positive on Wednesday, and just a lot of potential going forward. They just are about to take over a contract that Broadcom is losing for the manufacturing of a third-party chip, and that's kind of where we are with TSM. Then we get down into financials. Look what SoFi is doing. This is a stock we were promoting at the $6 level. It's now $16, and that's in less than 6 months. And it's going up again, up 30 cents this morning. So it's on the move. The other big ones, I'm a little leery of right now, as I have been for the last couple of weeks. JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman, they're all trading at kind of inflated prices, hoping that deregulation is going to lead to more profitability and that there will be greater merger and acquisition activity going into 2025. But I think we have to wait and see the numbers in January for these to really start to move again. And I think there could be a pullback before that point in time. The last thing I wanted to point out this morning is one of the emails that I read on a weekly basis is from Unusual Whales. And I look at this and I scroll through. They cover Nancy Pelosi's trading profile, and she's done an incredible job at making money based on her insider knowledge. And yet, unlike Martha Stewart, she's never been put in jail for that. Um, You've got the earnings announcements listed here on a go forward basis for the week coming up. You also then, as we scroll down, they give you some potential upsides, some options related activity for the different stocks. And then we've got your economic data, and you can see the economic calendar here. The big one, again, there's some PCE data Friday, but the big one is Wednesday when we get the Fed's decision on interest rates for December. And then it breaks it all down here and gives you a little bit of background. So this just can give you some additional insight into what's going on. And if you're interested in that, this is a link that you can use. I have no benefit in you using this link. It does apparently give me some points, but I have no idea what that actually means. It's simply a link to subscribe. And if that's of interest to you, have a look at that. I'll put it in the details for the video. That said, I hope you do well today in your trades. Keep an eye on those profits. Take the profits when they occur. And if you're liking these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. Good luck in your trades today.